All right, let's kick things off. Today we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into the world of ChatGPT.
Definitely a hot topic right now.
Yeah, it's been blowing up, and the numbers are insane. I mean, have you seen this?
Well, we've got some fresh insights here, straight from South Korea, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, an article from AI Times, a South Korean tech publication, gives us kind of a global view,
I like that. International perspective is always good.
For sure. So this article, it highlights just how massive ChatGPT has become.
Yeah, and how quickly, right, like from what I was reading, they're already at, 400 million weekly active users?
Yeah, you got it. 400 million. Which, think about it, that's a jump from 300 million just a couple months ago.
2 months, like December to February, that's wild.
It's crazy. It's like nearly 500 million people are using this thing every week.
It's mind-boggling. Really puts into perspective just how quickly it's becoming mainstream.
Totally. And you know what else I found interesting? They quoted OpenAI COO Brad Lightcap in the article. He's saying ChatGPT has moved beyond just, that initial buzz.
Like the early adopters, the techie folks.
Exactly. He's saying it's entered this phase of, get this, mainstream diffusion.
Mainstream diffusion, huh? Okay, break that down for me. What exactly does that mean?
Well, think of it like this. Every tech, every new gadget goes through stages, right? Like first there's that initial hype, word of mouth, Only a few people are using it, the really into it people.
Yeah, I get it. It's like the beta testers, the ones willing to try anything new.
Bingo. But then, as it catches on, more people start using it. It spreads wider, it gets easier to use, and that's what we're seeing now with ChatGPT. It's not just the early birds anymore.
So it's becoming something everyone can use, like everyday people are integrating it into their lives.
You got it. And not just individuals either. The article, it also pointed out how companies are getting on board too.
Wait, really? Companies are adopting ChatGPT, like formally?
Yeah. And get this, it's often because their employees are already using it.
Whoa, so it's almost like the employees are driving the adoption, not the other way around.
Exactly. It's almost like a bottom-up thing. Employees are using it, they're finding it helpful, and they're pushing their companies to formally adopt it.
That's wild, and it kind of makes sense. If people are already using it in their personal lives and finding it useful, why wouldn't they want to use it at work too?
Totally. Plus, it shows just how user-friendly ChatGPT is, right? I mean, if people are choosing to use it on their own, it's got to be pretty intuitive and, actually helpful.
For sure. It makes you wonder, is this like a glimpse into the future of how new tech gets adopted?
That's an interesting thought.
Like first we see individuals embracing something, then it spreads to the workplace. It's almost like a natural progression.
Yeah, kind of like a grassroots movement for tech adoption.
I like that. Grassroots tech adoption. That's kind of cool. And actually, it reminds me, Lightcap in this article, he goes even further, saying he sees AI becoming like essential infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because fundamental is the cloud.
Exactly.
That's a huge statement. He's basically saying AI will be as ubiquitous and, indispensable to businesses as, like, Amazon's cloud services are today.
It's wild. I mean, think about it. It wasn't that long ago that the cloud was this new kind of confusing thing for a lot of people, but now it's everywhere.
It really is. We don't even think about it, but it powers so much of our digital lives.
And Lightcap sees AI following that same trajectory.
It seems that way. It's like he's painting this picture of a future where AI is woven into everything. We might not even see it, but it'll be there, powering all these different apps and services, making our lives easier, hopefully.
It makes you think, right? Like, is this the next big shift, the next internet-level disruption? Are we headed towards a world where AI is just like the air we breathe? It's everywhere, but we don't even notice it.
It's a bold vision, that's for sure. And the crazy part is with ChatGPT growing so fast, it doesn't feel that far-fetched. It makes you wonder, are there other players out there trying to catch up, trying to be that central AI infrastructure?
Right. Like, is there competition brewing? Because OpenAI is definitely making waves, but are they the only ones in the game?
Well, speaking of competition, the article actually mentions with another player.
Oh, who's that? Spill the tea.
It's called DeepSeek. And get this, it's an open source AI model.
Oh, wow. Now that's interesting. Open source, huh? So how does that work? Like, what's the difference between open source and, the way OpenAI does things? Because that's not open source, right?
Right. It's a different approach. Think of it like this. Open source, it's all about transparency and collaboration. Anyone can access the code, modify it, distribute it. It's like a community effort.
So instead of one company controlling everything, it's more like a global team effort.
Exactly. And it raises some interesting questions, right? Like, how do you ensure quality control with so many people involved? And what about the potential for misuse? I mean, anyone can access the code, so there's that risk.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like the Wild West of AI development in a way. It's exciting, but also kind of scary.
Yeah, there's definitely a trade-off. But on the flip side, think about the potential for innovation. When you have so many brilliant minds working together, sharing ideas freely, who knows what kind of breakthroughs could happen.
That's true. The potential is huge. So how does OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT, how do they view this whole open source thing? Are they threatened by it?
Well, according to Lightcap, not really. He actually sees the emergence of DeepSeek as a good thing.
Really? Why is that?
He basically says it's a sign of the growing interest and investment in AI. Like, the more players in the game, the better.
So it's not a winner-take-all situation in his mind.
Doesn't seem like it. He seems to believe that having a diverse AI ecosystem with both open source and closed models will ultimately benefit everyone.
That's an interesting perspective. It's like he's not afraid of competition. He sees it as a way to push the field forward, to accelerate innovation.
Yeah, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats kind of mentality.
I dig it. I mean, it's good to see that level of, I don't know, like confidence and openness in such a competitive field. But you know what else I found really interesting about this whole story? And it's kind of a curveball.
What's up?
This AI Times article, it mentions something about Elon Musk. And get this, apparently he made a bid to acquire OpenAI.
Wait, what? Elon Musk trying to buy OpenAI?
Yep, though there was a twist. It wasn't a real bid, more like a hypothetical scenario the article was exploring.
Okay, so a fictional bid, but still. Why would Musk, he co-founded OpenAI, why would he even hypothetically want to buy it now?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, the article didn't really dive into his motivations, but it did mention Lightcap's reaction, and let's just say, it was interesting.
Oh? How so?
He called the fictional bid, and I quote, unsportsmanlike competition.
Whoa, okay, that's a pretty loaded statement. Makes you think what's going on behind the scenes.
Right, like, is there some bad blood between Musk and OpenAI, or is it more about, the competitive landscape wanting to stay ahead of the game?
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of intrigue to the whole thing. You can't help but wonder, what's the real story here?
Exactly. So much drama in the world of AI. Who knew? Anyway, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've got ChatGPT's crazy growth, the rise of open source AI with DeepSeek, and now this whole Elon Musk thing.
Yeah, we've gone from global perspectives to potential rivalries and everything in between.
It's a wild world out there, folks, and we're just getting started.
Definitely. Buckle up, because in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore even more about the implications of ChatGPT's rise and what it all means for the future of AI. Should be a good one.
Can't wait. See you then. So that whole Elon Musk thing, huh? What a twist. It's crazy to think even a fictional bid can stir up so much talk.
Right. It really makes you think about, the influence these big tech figures have. Even a hypothetical scenario gets everyone buzzing.
For sure. But hey, let's shift gears a bit, because there's another thing from this AI Times article that I wanted to dig into.
Okay. What's that?
It's this idea of organic adoption, remember? Like how ChatGPT is spreading, not just through, marketing or whatever, but because people genuinely want to use it.
Yeah, that really stood out to me too. It's not just the techies or early adopters anymore. It's like everyday folks are finding real nether in ChatGPT and incorporating it into their lives.
And not just personal use, right? We were talking about how employees are bringing it into their workplaces too.
Totally. It's like they see the potential, they experience the benefits firsthand, and they're the ones pushing for wider adoption.
Almost like a grassroots movement for AI. It's coming from the ground up, not just from the top down.
Exactly. And it makes me think, this whole thing with ChatGPT, it kind of reminds me of another tech revolution that went through a similar evolution.
Ooh, I love a good analogy. Lay it on me. What are we talking about?
Cloud computing. Remember the early days of the internet? It was a wild, wild west out there.
Oh, yeah. Tons of individual websites, all doing their own thing. It was exciting, but also kind of chaotic.
Right. But as the internet grew, it became clear that we needed a more unified, scalable infrastructure, something to handle all that data, all those connections.
And that's where the cloud came in. Like, it provided the backbone, the foundation for everything to run smoothly.
Exactly. Cloud computing, it became the essential infrastructure for the modern internet.
Okay, so I'm seeing the parallel here. Are you suggesting that AI, or maybe even ChatGPT itself, could become the backbone of a future AI-driven world, like the cloud for the AI era?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. Just like we saw individual websites flourishing in the early internet, we're seeing this explosion of AI tools and applications right now.
Right. Everyone's jumping on the AI bandwagon. It's like the gold rush of the 21st century.
And just like the cloud emerged to provide that essential infrastructure for the internet.
You're thinking maybe AI or a platform like ChatGPT could evolve into that for this new AI-driven world.
It's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it? I mean, if AI truly becomes as ubiquitous as the cloud, think about the implications.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, we're talking potentially huge changes across every industry imaginable. How we work, how we learn, even how we interact with each other. It could all be different.
It's a lot to mess your head around. And while it's exciting to think about the possibilities, We got to be realistic, too. There are potential downsides we need to consider.
Oh, for sure. Like, what about jobs? If AI can automate so much, what happens to all the people who used to be those jobs?
That's a big one. And then there's the whole issue of bias, right? If AI systems are trained on biased data, they could perpetuate and even amplify existing inequalities.
That's true. And what about privacy? If AI is collecting data on everything we do, how do we protect our personal information?
All valid concerns. These are just a few examples. The point is, as with any powerful technology, there are risks. We need to be mindful of those risks and develop safeguards to mitigate them.
So it's not just about blindly embracing AI, it's about shaping its development and use in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. We need to be active participants in this conversation, not passive bystanders. We need to ask the tough questions, demand transparency, and hold those developing AI accountable.
It's like we're at a crossroads. We can choose to let AI control us, or we can choose to control AI and guide its development in a direction that benefits all of humanity.
I like that. About taking responsibility, about recognizing that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're creating right now.
And that's a powerful thought. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think the key takeaway is this. The story of ChatGPT, it's more than just a text story. It's a human story.
Absolutely. It's about our hopes and fears, our ingenuity, and our responsibility. It's about what it means to be human in an age of intelligent machines.
Well said. And there's still so much more to explore. So buckle up, folks, because in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to delve into one more layer of this story. We'll be talking about different approaches to AI development, the potential for collaboration and competition, and what it all means for the future of this rapidly evolving field.
Stay tuned, folks. There's a lot more to uncover.
We've talked about ChatGPT's crazy growth, its potential impact, but there's another piece of this puzzle, something that really got me thinking.
What's that?
It's the whole open source versus closed model thing. Remember how that AI Times article mentioned DeepSeek?
Oh, yeah, the open source AI. Interesting contrast, right?
Totally. It made me realize, like, there are different ways to develop AI, different philosophies almost.
It's true. For a long time, tech innovation, it happened mostly behind closed doors.
Yeah, like in those secret R&D labs, companies fiercely guarding their secrets.
Right. Knowledge was power, and sharing it. Well, that was seen as a risk.
But open source AI, it's like the opposite of that. DeepSeek, it's all about transparency, collaboration, sharing,
Yeah, it's almost like democratizing AI, right? Anyone with the skills, the passion, they can contribute.
No matter where they live, what company they work for, it's a global effort.
Exactly. And that's exciting, right? It opens up so many possibilities.
Totally. But it also makes you wonder, like, does it lead to faster innovation, more breakthroughs?
Well, it could. I mean, think about it. You've got a global community of developers working together, bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah, like a hive mind, but for AI.
Kind of. And that can definitely lead to some amazing things. But of course, there are challenges too.
Right, like how do you ensure quality control when you have so many people involved?
Exactly. And then there's the potential for misuse. Open source means the code is accessible to everyone, and that includes people with less than noble intentions.
Yeah, that's a bit scary. It's like with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Absolutely, it's a trade-off. But, it's interesting to see how the big players like OpenAI view this whole open source thing.
Yeah, are they threatened by it? Do they see it as competition?
Well, according to Lightcap, not really. He actually seems to welcome it.
Really? Why's that?
He basically says it shows the growing interest in AI, the growing investment. More players in the game, the better for everyone.
That's not a zero-sum game in his mind.
It doesn't seem like it. He sees value in having a diverse AI ecosystem. Open source, closed models, they can all coexist and push the field forward.
That's a pretty healthy attitude, especially in such a competitive industry.
It is. It's like he's saying, let's all learn from each other. Let's all contribute to this incredible thing that's happening with AI.
I like that. It's like competition is good, but collaboration can be even better.
Exactly. And, it reminds me a bit of how the internet evolved. We had those proprietary online services at first, then the open protocols of the web took over.
Yeah, the web won out in the end, and it changed everything.
And who knows, maybe we'll see a similar thing happen with AI. Maybe open source will play an even bigger role in the future.
It's definitely something to watch. And it all comes back to that idea we were talking about earlier, right? This isn't just about technology. It's about us, about humans.
You got it. It's about how we choose to develop and use AI, how we shape its future.
Because the future, it's not some predetermined thing. It's something we're actively creating with every decision we make, every conversation we have.
Well said. It's both exciting and, a little bit daunting. We have this incredible power at our fingertips, but we need to use it wisely.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of ChatGPT and all things AI, I hope our listeners are walking away with a sense of wonder and, yeah, maybe even a little bit of responsibility.
Because this is a conversation that's just beginning. And we need everyone to participate, to ask questions, to think critically, and to help shape this incredible future that's unfolding before our eyes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.